Good evening, everybody. Welcome to CTV Politico. I am your host, Earl Sparrow, and we have our co-host, Ms. Arvella Claire, in the house tonight. We also have Mr. Yoseph Tedros, who's the chairman of the Democratic Party of Lee County. A lot of things have gone on since the last time we talked. We've had Mr. Rudy Giuliani, former New York City mayor, drop the bomb that President Obama does not love America. He wasn't raised like me and you. He gave that little spill, and we have a Georgia young man, C.J. Pearson, that is an internet superstar, conservative, that has his opinions. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Mr. Nate Allen and his situation with the Fort Myers Police Department. And again, we have Mr. Tedros here, so we have an exciting show lined up for you tonight. I can't wait to get into these topics. You're watching CTV Politico. We'll be right back.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier, and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea, call 239-321-7085 and come join us.
You know, I have been handling personal injury cases for 25 years, and people ask me questions each and every day about personal injury cases. These are some of their questions.
If someone is in a car accident, how does he or she know that they have a case?
You may have a case if the other car was at fault and you were injured because of their fault. But even if you are partially at fault, if the other car is also partially at fault, then you may still have a case. But the best thing to do, just give me a call. Let's talk about it.
What types of compensation may be available in a personal injury case?
In a personal injury case, whether we're talking about a slip and fall case or a car accident case, you may be entitled to payments for lost wages, medical bills, and pain and suffering. And we can get that either by settlement or taking your case to trial.
Where's your office located?
My main office is located in Fort Myers, a city in which I am proud to say I was born and raised. I also have an office in Fort Lauderdale, but my motto is, briefcase will travel. I handle cases throughout the entire state. I go wherever I am needed.
One more question. How much do you charge to handle a personal injury case?
More good news. My clients do not pay me any attorney's fees or costs unless we win. So give me a call. Call Attorney Joe North.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We are live and direct from Fort Myers, Florida at CTV Studio. Located in Fort Myers, right off of MLK. Welcome back, Ms. Arvella.
I'm happy to be here.
We're here again.
Yes.
we missed last week. There was some mixed up with Ash Wednesday and some other obligations we had. So we apologize we weren't on air last week. We got you covered. We also wanted to take this time to kind of explain the transition that's been going on. We are where it's Ron as a staff that I was going to and Arvella was going to move forward with the show. We don't hate Ron. We love Ron. We'll probably have Ron on as a guest, speaker or commentary, do an interview with him because he's going to be moving forward with some other directions as far as the show is concerned. So he's not gone for long. I'm sure Ron's watching now. We thank you for doing what you did to bring the show to the point where it is now. Much respect to you. Miss our debates, but I'm sure we haven't seen the last of you. So, first topic we really wanted to touch on this evening was what's going on with Mr. Nate Allen. Nate is a local hometown hero. I know we have a bunch of guys from Deion Sanders to Sammy Watkins and Javon Curse. We have a laundry list of NFL players that were born and raised in Fort Myers. Mr. Nate Allen was arrested on February 16th because of he was described as doing a lewd act, as that they perceive it, on the 41 area around Red Lobster by a 16-year-old young lady that hasn't been identified. Of course, she's still a minor. Mr. Allen was detained, and it was, how do I say it? He was handcuffed, had the flashlights and everything else like that, and they asked the young lady to come back and identify him positively, which she did, and they detained him for about 5 hours. Yeah, it was pretty sad to go from making $3 million a year. You come back to your hometown, eating some food, having good, eating those cheddar biscuits at Red Lobster, and next thing you know, you're in jail for 5 hours. You know, you'll be like, what happened? What's going on? We have found out just recently, I think Tuesday, was it Monday or Tuesday?
It was Tuesday.
They had Monday, they had a councilman meeting with Fort Myers Council, and there was some chatter about should there be an external investigation or internal one just exclusively. Of course, the Fort Myers Police Department don't want anybody from anywhere else investigating them. They could do it all in-house as usual, a business as usual, and they're going to look internally, and that might take a few weeks, but the city council voted unanimously that they would inquire with the FDLE to look into it and do an external investigation. We have a tendency to cover up mistakes. We have a tendency, it's just human nature, to make things not as bad as we thought.
Luckily, he has a great attorney, Mr. Sawyer Smith, a local attorney, who's taken on the case, and I think it's going to be something that we hear a lot about because they're trying to make an issue of it, because this is a trend in Fort Myers. It seems that if someone makes it famous, they tend to develop a history of being harassed in their own hometown. So I think that's something the public has to be aware of, and we have to keep some attention on it and make sure that he's given justice. His biggest concern, and he stressed the fact that he just wants his reputation, his name cleared. So that's something that I think the community is going to, be alerted to, that this young man is in danger of having his reputation soiled by the fact that he's famous, and some young person decided to bring attention to him, and I guess in an attempt to get some notoriety herself. Nate is saying that that's pretty common. He expects that, given that he has celebrity status, but it's important for him to actually clear his name and receive justice, because his concern is he doesn't want to be viewed as someone that's dangerous to be around children, because that's a large part of his commitment, community service, and inspiring young people to stay on the right track and to avoid any criminal activity.
I think the league, NFL just went through a hellacious season. People talk more about Ray Rice. They talk more about Adrian Peterson with the spanking. They talk about Johnny Manziel going to rehab. It's more off the field things that go on that get more attention than the on the field stuff. People might not know the Patriots won the Super Bowl, but they know Ray Rice knocked that girl out, knocked his wife out now in the elevator. So they always go into damage mode, and this man is a free agent. That means he could go to any NFL team you would like to go to. But if
you have the stigma of being a sexual predator.
If you have that stigma on you, and if that team thinks this guy
is a risk,
let's just give him $1 million instead of $2.5 million this year to play because we're taking the risk and everything else. The NFL is a business, far and foremost, and going for $3 million a year to $150,000 a year, or going to play for the Canadian Football League or Arena Football just because of his reputation, that's bad. I don't think it was. I think the issue for me and how it hits home for us as non-NFL players, non-millionaires and athletes and stars that's on TV and all that stuff like that is that this method of handcuffing individuals and leaving them to be identified, lined up. You know, we see the little lineup on TV where which one of y'all did it, which one is it? It's the third one on the right with his hands in the pocket, that one right there. That's not what happened with Nate. She didn't pick him out of a lineup of 15 people or whatever randomly and say, I know it's him, it got to be him. He had the same clothes on. Matter of fact, the description didn't even match. So I understand why they wanted to detain him. I understand they want to get possibly a perverted person off of the streets and everything else like that. But if that happened to Joe Blow on the street or John Doe on the street, would he be facing, the Fort Myers Police Department be facing the same level of scrutiny that they're facing now because they slipped up in the rest of the millionaire? They can pay some high attorney. I don't know what Sawyer's charging him, but it's not pro bono, I can bet you that.
It's true.
But the issue is, why is this tactic of having the victim come and see the person they think did the act, handcuffed, with a car next to him, lights flashing, everything else like that? How do you think that's the best method to identify somebody? That's it? She said it was him. You're arrested. Let's go.
What's so strange about this case is that he did not match the description that was given for the perpetrator.
No.
And it's hard to not consider that this is another case of racial profiling. But I think one of the complaints that we hear a lot of is that black men are stopped and black men are searched and black men are arrested for, charges that they didn't commit. It's just that they happen to fit the profile. But this is a strange case in that he doesn't meet the profile at all. But
he met the profile of the vehicle. Now, if they wanted, he had a SUV, a dark SUV.
Correct.
And it's a case of being at the wrong time, at the wrong place, at the wrong time, and in my opinion, being the wrong color.
Yeah, that probably had a lot to do
with it.
with
If he was they didn't say it was a white man, black man, green man, but the intent of the media that pushes black is whack, black is evil. Black men are the most dangerous men in America. That pushes people to even see me as a threat, even in a suit and bow tie and everything else like that. They'll grab their purses and go the other way, or they'll lock the doors as soon as it's bad. And I feel like I'm glad if anything could come out of this bad situation and being arrested and being there for 5 hours, is that this is forcing a flashlight. They're turning the lights on with the Fort Myers Police Department and say, why are you still using this bad, what's the word?
Antiquated.
Antiquated, yes, thank you. I got corrected by a wildcat. I feel a little bad now. I'm a rattler. My pride is hurt, damaged. Antiquated. Did I say it right?
You did.
Using this old method of identifying people when we know that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It should be abolished. This practice should be abolished. And it is in some counties, in some parts around the state. Why do Chief Baker and the Fort Myers Police Department think this is good enough?
Well, this is a chance to address it. It's going to bring some attention to it. It's going to make us all aware of the problems associated with racial profiling. And hopefully, this is something that the whole community can actually work towards ensuring that we address and we come up with solutions for. It's long overdue.
My biggest concern with this is that in lieu of the Department of Justice scathing report about Ferguson Police Department and the unfair practices that they put on with ticketing people and arresting them for any and everything and that whole system, if inviting the FDLE to come in, the Florida Department Law Enforcement Agency, enforcement, to come and look, if I'm accused of something, come on, look. Say, no, we don't need them. We can do this internally. That kind of sends off the wrong signal that I don't want you to come and look at my house because you might find something else that I'm trying to hide. So being transparent is very, very important. There was a few years ago, there was an issue on the ballot where we wanted to have some civilian oversight for the Fort Myers Police Department, and that got voted down. But this kind of problem might bring that back. Who's policing the police?
You're right. You're right. And the Justice Department just came out with their findings this week. I think it was on Tuesday. They came up with their findings for Ferguson and found that there was a systematic pattern of profiling and targeting specifically black males. But they went on to talk about some of the other problems related with the police department and found that they were very racially insensitive, even to the point of making jokes about the president and passing those along. The most popular one was that this is a black man. The president is a black man, so we shouldn't expect him to be in office for longer than
hold his job,
4 years.
Can't hold his job.
So it's that type of insensitivity that was brought out in the investigation. But what we've heard thus far is that they have plans to actually address their problems and look at solutions to fix the injustices that go on within the Ferguson Police Department. And hopefully that'll transmit throughout Lee County as well, where we can address some of the injustices and have a more fair and impartial system.
What my generation, and I'm knocking on 40, I'm not there yet. We used to watch G.I. Joe, and at the end of each episode, they had this thing that said, knowing's half the battle. When you know there's a problem, you address it, and then you can go from there. We're going to come back in a few moments after our sponsors have their advertisements. We'll be back, and we're going to talk about why President Obama hates America. We'll be right back. CTV Politico.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea, call 239-321-7085 and come join us.
You know, I have been handling personal injury cases for 25 years, and people ask me questions each and every day about personal injury cases. These are some of their questions.
If someone is in a car accident, how does he or she know that they have a case?
You may have a case if the other car was at fault and you were injured because of their fault. But even if you are partially at fault, if the other car is also partially at fault, then you may still have a case. But the best thing to do, just give me a call. Let's talk about it.
What types of compensation may be available in a personal injury case?
In a personal injury case, whether we're talking about a slip and fall case or a car accident case, you may be entitled to payments for lost wages, medical bills, and pain and suffering. And we can get that either by settlement or taking your case to trial.
Where's your office located?
My main office is located in Fort Myers, a city in which I am proud to say I was born and raised. I also have an office in Fort Lauderdale, but my motto is, briefcase will travel. I handle cases throughout the entire state. I go wherever I am needed.
One more question. How much do you charge to handle a personal injury case?
More good news. My clients do not pay me any attorney's fees or costs unless we win. So give me a call. Call Attorney Joe North.
Welcome back. This is our second segment, CTV Politico. I'm your host, Earl Sparrow, and this is
Your co-host, Arvella Claire.
We are going to take a little non-Fort Myers turn and kind of look at things a little national for this segment. We're going to be talking about why President Barack Hussein Obama hates America. On February 18th, former mayor of New York City, and I got to remind him sometimes, he's a former mayor, he's not the current mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliani. He has been on a tear as of late. Can't you say the last year, last 5 or 6 months, he has been a gaffe machine from the stop and frisk comments that he had to his favorite person. He likes to tee off on Obama every now and then. Nothing gets his blood boiling. He's not running for president. He's not running for 2016, but
We don't think so.
He is definitely campaigning to take Rush Limbaugh's spot if something happens, because he's beloved by the conservative party right now. I'll tell you, he's telling it like it is. And I quote part of what he said on February 18th. It said that I do not believe, and I know this is a horrible thing to say, but I do not believe the president loves America. If it's a horrible thing to say, stop. Don't say it. I know this is going to, and then I should paraphrase it for me. I do not believe, and I know this is going to get me a lot of press. So cameras, are y'all ready? You ready? Good. I want to get my show on Fox News very soon. But I do not believe the president of the United States, who's a constitutional lawyer, professor, he does not love America. He wasn't raised like us. He doesn't believe like us. He's different, y'all. I'm not going to say he's black. I'm not going to say he's, a Muslim, that evil religion, but he's different. He doesn't see America like we do. And they play that birther card and all that other junk. But we have a young man. His name is C.J. Pearson. He's a conservative star in the wings. I guess he's going to audition for his Fox News show, too. That has a video that took the world by storm. It went viral, and a lot of people said this young man has more together than President Obama. Well, this boy ain't in out of the 7th grade, but anyway, we're going to show some clips of his speech, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that. Could you play the clip, Jess?
Hi, my name's CJ Pearson, and today I wanted just to applaud Mayor Rudy Giuliani for his comments about President Barack Obama. Here's the truth of the matter. I don't want to be politically correct. I don't care about being politically correct at this point. President Obama, You don't love America? If you really did love America, you would call ISIS what it really is. An assault on Christianity, an assault on America, and a downright hate for the American values that our country holds. Of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and every single thing that our country stands for. If you loved America, President Obama, if you loved America, you wouldn't try to take away what hardworking Americans have worked for their entire lives. You wouldn't do this if you loved the people of America. And when it takes a mayor, the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, to call you out on your downright hatred for America, then so be it. I applaud him for his comments, and I definitely do hope that one day other people will get enough guts to speak out against your downright hatred for this nation. When you aren't willing to defend our country against the evil of terrorism, domestic and abroad, you don't love our nation. You just don't. It makes no sense to me, and I don't understand why you would. Here in America, we fight for what we believe in, and we will destroy and annihilate ISIS. Why? Because they attacked us, President Obama. When they kill innocent Americans that have done no wrong except report on what is their constitutional right as journalists, and you do nothing about it, you don't care about their lives. You could care less. But here's what you need to realize. That here in America, we don't back down to terrorists. We fight them on their own battleground and we annihilate them to the very end. Here in America, we don't allow the government to take away what we work for. But we continue to work harder. We continue to work harder so that we may continue to succeed. That's what we do in America. And President Obama, if you really did indeed love America, you'd do the same. You'd fight for our values, domestic and abroad, and you wouldn't take away the right to the American people. Thank y'all.
If you loved America, oh my God. Y'all really take it out.
I had quite a few conversations about this video, and what I found most shocking is the number of adults that actually thought, that his parents had done an excellent job and were raising him the right way, and admonished other American parents for not, having children that spoke so passionately about their commitment to this country and their thoughts on, the president being willing to take a country to war.
Yes.
Now, I found that quite shocking that parents would think that it's a good idea to encourage their children to go out and become, war mongers. To actually stress the fact that they want our country to actually put our young men and women in harm's way to defend us from threats that the people in charge don't see as, being of the nature to actually commit our troops, to combat. I mean, we've just gotten out of 2 wars,
the longest
over 10
wars
years
we've ever been in.
Warring, and now the community is rallying behind a 12-year-old. All that experience and wisdom, that's what should lead us now. And that's who's more, sensitive and more aware than the President of the United States. The question for me becomes, why is it a 12-year-old boy, can inspire so many people to be passionate and want to hold him up for us to see as a role model? What makes this young man so unique that, millions of adults, are supporting what he has to say and promoting it? What is it about this video that makes him the person that should direct, us and lead us in terms of whether or not we invest in another war.
It's two things. Number one, he's black. If he was not black, if this was Peter Peterson, white, red-headed, freckled kid in Omaha, Nebraska, this would get nothing. This would get no traction at all.
And people don't
It'd be
seem
like,
to
okay.
be aware of that. They don't seem to understand that race has a whole lot to do with why this young man is getting so much attention.
When you YouTube it, it's going to say black boy from Georgia. But that's the other part about it is that when I don't care if you want to be politically correct or not, you have to be correct. And for him to say that, I think people are using, I'm not going to be PC, means that I'm just going to say whatever I feel like it, whether it's right or wrong, that doesn't matter. And because it's my opinion, that's good enough. He says that President Obama wants to take away what people in America love. What exactly was that? What did he take away that people love? He says that ISIS attacked us, attacked the United States of America. And they attacked our values, and they hate us for religious freedom and everything else like that. Okay. And we're a Christian nation. People keep saying it over and over. The United States of America has separation of church and state. I don't know how or why that keeps getting confused. I don't know why that's such an unpolitically correct statement to say. But then he says, take away what we worked hard for. What did President Obama take away that we worked hard for? What did he take away from you?
He hasn't taken anything away from me.
Are you still free to believe anything you want?
I'm still free to think and work and do all the things.
Are we going to get arrested after we leave out of here because we said whatever we say in here?
So.
Okay.
I don't think so.
He didn't take anything away from me either, but fighting for values. And President Obama, President Obama didn't do anything to save those victims. And nothing could be further from the truth. And in the end, no matter how we feel about it, especially if we want to go in front of the camera or get on a microphone and be on the radio, we have to speak truth to power. Not say whatever we feel like it, because the Bible calls it itching ears. We just want to hear what we believe. It doesn't matter if it's right, it doesn't matter if it's biblical, it doesn't matter if it's structurally correct, grammatically correct. We don't care. As long as it feeds the hate that's in me, it gives me a chance to express the love I have, that I'm more American than you are or whatever, then I'm going to say whatever I want to say, and then you're just going to have to go with it. But this country, that's free. That's fine. You can do that and not get arrested or anything else. But it troubles me. It troubles me that somebody could say that and be pimped, say the word, to be pimped and played out there. I'm pretty sure he's going to be on Rush Limbaugh and all these other people's shows, and he's going to get a nice little finder's fee for that. But what do you think?
I think that's the climate. I think right now people want the divisiveness. They want to complain. They want to express their belief that somehow something has been taken away from them because we have a democratically elected president. You know, the reality is, in terms of love, you know, the public showed Obama, about 53% of the population showed him, you know, how much they love and supported his message. You know, we can't lose sight of the fact that he had opposition in both times he ran, and the public overwhelmingly chose President Obama. That's something we have to come to terms with. But it seems to be politically correct to actually challenge the president. I think this president has been assaulted and attacked more than any president in history. I know any president in my lifetime. And the question becomes, when will we get to a point where we understand that diversity is part of what this country is founded on, the belief that everyone has the option or the ability to reach their full potential. To have a symbol such as a black man in the highest position in the land is something that tells us we are all moving towards progress. We haven't gotten there yet. We have a little problem. We have a lot of problems. But I think as long as we can keep the lines of communication open, stop blaming, and start looking for solutions to address our real concerns, this isn't a legitimate concern. Whether or not someone loves the country can't be a real concern when we have so many concrete issues, so many real issues that this country needs to face.
I agree. We're going to go, we'll pay the bills again, and we'll be right back with Mr. Yoseph Tedros. And he's going to jump in this fire, and we're going to talk about getting this nation back together, because we love America. We love America. TV Politico.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea, call 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
You know, I have been handling personal injury cases for 25 years. And people ask me questions each and every day about personal injury cases. These are some of their questions.
If someone is in a car accident, how does he or she know that they have a case?
You may have a case if the other car was at fault and you were injured because of their fault. But even if you are partially at fault, if the other car is also partially at fault, then you may still have a case. But the best thing to do, just give me a call. Let's talk about it.
What types of compensation may be available in a personal injury case?
In a personal injury case, whether we're talking about a slip and fall case or a car accident case, you may be entitled to payments for lost wages, medical bills, and pain and suffering. And we can get that either by settlement or taking your case to trial.
Where's your office located?
My main office is located in Fort Myers, a city in which I am proud to say I was born and raised. I also have an office in Fort Lauderdale, but my motto is, briefcase will travel. I handle cases throughout the entire state. I go wherever I am needed.
One more question. How much do you charge to handle a personal injury case?
More good news. My clients do not pay me any attorney's fees or costs unless we win. So give me a call. Call Attorney Joe North.
Welcome back. This is our third segment. We have our special guest for this evening, Mr. Yoseph Tedros. Welcome to CTV Politico, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm very happy.
We were talking a little bit before the cameras came back on, and first question. This is your first time seeing that video. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think there's, I think 12-year-olds should be keeping to themselves. Maybe this should be something he talks about himself. I think some misguidedness is there, you know, and at that age, you know, the family influences is what's coming out.
Absolutely.
It's not something that he's coming out. This is something he sees either in Fox News or something in a dinner table discussed. So this, I think, is more of a reflection of environment. So it's kind of shocking.
I don't think it says much about respecting your elders, you know, or respecting the office of the presidency.
That's true, and that's been under attack for a long time. And so this is something we're getting used to. The environment has changed a lot, and our president has to endure a lot more than in my lifetime that I've seen. Maybe I'm a little more sensitive because he's a Democratic president, but as objective as I can see it, I've never seen such...
Vitriol.
Yes, thank you. That so much hatred being exhibited. Sometimes we say it in ourselves, but really out loud. I've never seen so much vitriol being said before.
I think this takes it to a different level when we have a 12-year-old on the attack, and so many adults find it appropriate to support what's being said. I have a 12-year-old, so I'm speaking as a parent when I say that 12-year-olds shouldn't be making decisions about much of anything, more or less whether or not our country should go to war. So I find it really over the top.
Very true, but this is also a case of instant media. So any 12-year-old with a camera and internet can be a sensation. So this is the world we live in now. So we have to kind of, the thing is we need more of a filter now than we did before. We have to be the judge. Before, the news and everything else we used to take for granted. Now we have to question more because the source and the information, so much of it, we have to look at it and kind of say, what is this all about?
Yeah, because it's not the 12-year-olds that are supporting this video. It's the adults, it's the ones that should be the role model and providing guidance. It's them that are taking advantage of this opportunity to promote their message and their agenda. I promise you, as a parent of a 12-year-old, this is not what 12-year-olds are interested in. It just isn't.
That's true.
I think that the biggest piece of me, the biggest thing that I look forward to in 6 years, and we're counting the years now. And you know what? Not 6 years. We'll say 5 years, because when you're a junior in high school, you can enlist in the Army.
Very true.
He can show his love for America, a love for America. He can show his love for America and join the service. I tell people that are so quick to jump in. We should go to war. We should put boots on the ground. What size are your shoes? I'll call the person right now for you. I'll call the Army recruiter. Hey, I got a hot one. She wants to go fight ISIS. She want to fight Afghan. She's ready to go. She's been working out. She's been running around. She's been jogging and everything. She's fit. She's ready to go to PT. She's ready to go to boot camp and fight for America. Oh no, not me. No, somebody
else.
No, I'm not my kids either. No. Somebody else can go fight for our freedoms and our religious values and all that. Not me. Send them.
Yeah. Right.
That is an issue that we found especially in this last war, when a very few people went to war. And so sometimes you're not affected as much as, for instance, in Vietnam, when a lot of people were drafted.
Absolutely.
So sometimes it's easy to sit and say, yes, let's go to war. It's almost like the same thing as not in my backyard. Yeah, build anything you want, but just not in my backyard.
Right.
Same kind of thought process. Yeah, go to war, but just not me or my kid.
And that's the biggest thing about it. It makes so much news. Vice President Joe Biden's son, Bo, went into the service and like, oh, what? Don't he know he's rich? Why was he? Now in England, they have to serve. So when Prince William and all those guys had to go into service and everything else, like that's some part of their culture. That the men they don't get drafted per se, but they have to serve a few years in the service. That's something that their country, they believe in freedom and everything else. If they try to bring that on this side of the ocean, you think that will fly?
Not really, but again, that's why we have votes, and that's why we have elections in order to make decisions that reflect what people are looking for.
I think Thank you for just. I had to give you a piece of that. Now we're not beating up on that young man. We hope he has a 4.0. We hope he goes to college. We hope he does everything he wants to do. My main thing with that segment is that is a clear-cut case of brainwashing. That's a 24-hour Rush Limbaugh-a-thon. That is a person that is baptized in the conservative media spin. And you spoke about, I mean, we spoke about that too, with anybody with a microphone, anybody with an internet connection is now a journalist. And we see that on Facebook all of the time. We'll see people that will put up a post from Newsmax or any of these other, even Huffington Post or any left or right extreme case, and they're promoting stuff as the gospel truth. Don't quote anybody, no AP anywhere. Don't quote, if they do quote another story, it's a story that they wrote earlier. It's like, okay, come on, consider the source. Where you get this from? Who said it? Go back. Where is it on CNN? They say like Don, what's the guy named? Spock. Leonard Nimoy passed away. First thing I did was go to CNN. I didn't go to Facebook because who knows? They killed Bill Cosby. They've killed everybody else. Jackie Chan died 55 times by now. But consider the source. And if it's not, I ain't saying mainstream media, but if it's not on ABC, CBS, NBC, and it's just on Fox News, okay, there's something wrong with it. If it's just on MSNBC and it's not on ABC or NBC or CBS, okay, something wrong. If I see 3 or 4 networks saying it, okay, all right, now I can, this probably did happen. I say probably, not did, this probably did happen.
Well, I think we know that this is definitely opinion. This is this young man's opinion. But I question even if it's his opinion, like Yoseph said earlier. I think it has a lot to do with the people around him. He's a dynamic speaker. He's incredibly handsome. You know, he has a message that adults want to hear right now. So I think more so than anything, it's him sharing his opinion and his tenor, his presence that makes it, you know, something that adults want to support and promote. But in terms of it being his message, I go back to he's 12 years old. This is probably not his message, you know, but those around him want to show that, you know, yes, my son, this young man, it's saying all the things that we truly believe. And we want to promote that, and I think that's the reason that it's gone viral. But I want to make sure that we move on and give a proper introduction to Mr. Joseph. And
Mr. Joseph, tell us your story, how you became the chairman of the Democratic Party. And our next segment, we're going to focus on what you see for 2015 and 2016.
Sure. I'm originally, I moved here. I'm born and raised in Ethiopia. Moved here in 1974. Been in America about 40 years. Lived in a lot of different states. We moved to Cape Coral because of job. We always loved Florida, so we were looking for a place to move. Came here, very involved with the Democratic Party. I was the state committeeman before. I was the chairman. And the chairman, Jeff Kushner, decided not to run for an office, so I decided to step up and run for office and got elected.
Awesome.
So that's how my story is.
very good.
When did you become the chairman? What year did you start?
December this year.
December this year. Okay.
Actually, the election was in December, and I take office January. So this 2015.
Is it a 2 years,
yes,
4 years?
It's a 2-year term.
2-year term.
2-year term.
Okay, when did you move to this area?
2009. I've been here about 5 years.
Okay, you've been here for 5 years
Yes.
and actively involved with the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Now, a question I have is, are you the first black president of the Lee County Democratic Party?
Yes.
Okay, that's historic, and that's a big deal. And then you should, take a lot of pride in that. It says a lot about the Democratic Party that they are moving in a different direction.
But also it says that it's a big tent party. It's always been a big tent party. It's always more encompassing of everybody. And so this is more of a reflection of what the party stands for, the equality pieces, and all the different things. Oh, saying that on Friday, we have an equality dinner that we're putting together, speaking about gender equality, immigration equality, income equality, and variety of equalities. Because that's one of the things we stand for, and we're trying to get out and tell people that this is what the Democrats stand for, and also people to know that there's a Democratic Party in Lee County. A lot of people don't know that, but we do have Democrats, a lot of Democrats in Lee County.
Okay, now that's something I want to bring your attention to.
Sure.
There are a lot of Democrats in Lee County. There are a lot of minorities in Lee County, especially in the Dunbar area.
Yes.
But when you go to the Democratic Party events or you go to the meetings, you can probably count the number of black people on your hand. That's been the history of the Lee County Democratic Party. What do you plan to do to make that different?
Well, I think it starts with a variety of things. One is going out in the community and being visible. Sometimes people don't realize we're around. For instance, since last year, there's the Black Caucus that started here, the Lee County Black Caucus. So Democratic Party is not just that, but we also have a variety of clubs. You know, like Sanibel has a Democratic, Shell Point has one, and then Club of the Isles, which is the Sanibel, and then you have Lehigh, and then you have the Progressive, the Women Club, and also the Black Caucus.
Okay.
So these also encompass the Democratic Party in a variety of ways.
Okay.
So we have other clubs. So there's a variety of ways that we're going out to community outreach.
Okay. Now, so what's your feeling? Are these reaching out to the clubs, is that the strategy in terms of how do you get more black people involved with the Democratic Party? Is that the strategy?
Part of it. But the other part is also getting us out into the public. For instance, making a speech like we're saying, the equality dinner, and saying, hey, these are the kind of things that are important. Just saying, why is income equality important? Why is marriage equality important? Why is gender equality important? Why is immigration policies very important? So educating the public of the importance of those things also shows us that, hey, there is something there for me.
Right.
And this is how we're going to get them. And the other thing we're going to do is also part of our community outreach we're going to go to Dunbar and other areas and, get to know people, get to know us, and get them to know us and how we can help. Because remember, the Democratic Party is a Big Ten party. And so we have a lot of causes that people believe in. And so we're trying to get everything done.
We're going to be right back in a few seconds. Going to our second segment. We had Mr. Martin, Jonathan Martin on, and I told him you have the easiest job in one of the easiest counties in Robert E. Lee County. And I think on the other hand, you have one of the hardest Democratic jobs in the county. And we're going to talk about the things that you face in elections next year, the presidential elections next year, another big one. We'll be right back. CTV Politico. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I have been handling personal injury cases for 25 years. And people ask me questions each and every day about personal injury cases. These are some of their questions.
If someone is in a car accident, how does he or she know that they have a case?
You may have a case if the other car was at fault and you were injured because of their fault. But even if you are partially at fault, if the other car is also partially at fault, then you may still have a case. But the best thing to do, just give me a call. Let's talk about it.
What types of compensation may be available in a personal injury case?
In a personal injury case, whether we're talking about a slip and fall case or a car accident case, you may be entitled to payments for lost wages, medical bills, and pain and suffering. And we can get that either by settlement or taking your case to trial.
Where's your office located?
My main office is located in Fort Myers, a city in which I am proud to say I was born and raised. I also have an office in Fort Lauderdale, but my motto is, briefcase will travel. I handle cases throughout the entire state. I go wherever I am needed.
One more question. How much do you charge to handle a personal injury case?
More good news. My clients do not pay me any attorney's fees or costs unless we win. So give me a call. Call Attorney Joe North.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea, call 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Welcome back. Woo! Welcome back to our final segment of the night for CTV Politico. Mr. Yoseph Tedros, chairman of the Democratic Party of Lee County, is stepping into the hot seat. We're going to turn it up a little bit for these last few minutes. We're kind of in the overtime now anyway. When we left, the last thing we talked about was your job compared to your Republican counterpart. When I first moved here, when it said Lee County, I'm like, you mean Robert E. Lee County? I was like, I don't know about this. And I really, I wonder if there are other people that, of color and of other races that, like, yeah, Lee County, I don't know, this might be backwoods and pickup trucks and duck hunting and deer hunting and all that kind of country stuff like that. I don't know if I'm gonna fit in here. What are the black people like in that county? So, what do you do, and what's your strategy to bring people specifically that are not Lee County born and raised and get them involved with the Democratic Party, like myself and like Arvella? We're not from here.
Well, actually, there's 2 things to consider. To us, some of the strategy is elections. Elections dictate what happened in the last elections, dictate how we do it. For instance, the last elections, a lot of people didn't go out and vote. A lot of Democrats stayed home. Actually, if you look at them, during the presidential elections, we do very well. Off elections, we don't do so well. So the last election, one of the things we looked at is Democrats stayed home. So somehow they felt disenfranchised, or somehow we did not do enough to persuade them to vote or to get involved. So one of the things that we're doing this year is we're starting now is going out and reaching and telling people, hey, there is a Democratic Party here. Hey, these are the causes we believe in, the same causes you are. Saying, so that you're aware that there's somebody out there fighting the fight, that's what's important for you. Now, here's the thing to remember. If you look at the country, I believe, is center-left. And how would I know that? Is if you look, for instance, gun control. If you poll people in gun control, most people say they're more for sensible gun control. But the legislation is the other way. Right? If you look at pro-choice, if you ask everyone what they would vote on, most of them would say they're more pro-choice. But the legislation is the other way. So, and how does that reflect? So to me, what it's telling me is the people who are elected do not reflect the people in general. And how is that possible? Is because a lot of times Democrats don't go out and vote. Now, if we voted, if every eligible voter would vote, not just in presidential elections, in every elections, they would make a difference. So then the legislature would reflect us, and then some of the laws passed, some of the causes, and all the different things would reflect the general population, not just a certain segment of the electorate. And that is the problem we have, because what happens? A lot of elderly people vote, a lot of people not of color vote. So what happens so then the laws tend to skew a little bit this way. So I think part of my job is to educate people of color, saying, hey, elections have consequences. when you don't go out and vote, things happen. So it's very important to educate them how those things happen so that they get more involved and vote. And how we're doing this is by absentee ballot. You know, sometimes what happens, if you remember 2012 presidential election, we had a 6-hour wait some places to vote.
Yes.
So think about it. If you had 2 jobs and you were working an hourly, to give up that, if you live paycheck to paycheck, to wait 6 to 7 hours to vote, that's like a whole day's worth of pay you have to give up. That's hard.
But we've seen a big change, especially during the last election cycle, where now people are voting by mail. I mean, especially with the incentive of the supervisor of elections actually paying for postage.
Indeed.
So now all people have to do is sit in the comfort of their home, make the call, get your ballot, fill it out, the self-addressed step, you just put it in that envelope and send it off. So they've made it real convenient. But my question becomes, what about how people are registering to vote? The biggest gain now is in NPAs, the no party affiliates. Not the Democratic Party, not even the Republican Party. The largest group of new voters are no party affiliates. What's your strategy, and how does the Democratic Party plan to address the fact that once we get new voters, they're choosing not to register as Democrats or as Republicans?
Well, personally, I think if we do our job, okay, we go tell people what we're doing and do the values that we assume, you know, for equal pay increases, increase the minimum wage, health care, immigration, all those, the environment, those are the causes the Democratic Party stands for. If we tell people those things and go out and do our own outreach, and I think people will slowly look at it. But if we do not do that, then the tendency would be is they want to stay in the middle, and a lot of people stay in the middle so that they don't want to get in a fight.
Right.
But they tend to either vote this way or that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but our job is to say, hey, going out there, it's our job to sell the Democratic Party, and that's what we're trying to do, and trying to tell people there is a Democratic Party here, and like I said, we're going to do some more outreach, trying to get to the community. The Equality Dinner is our first start, saying, hey, here's a program that we're putting on so that you can get on and see what are the things that you care about. And then we'll have other things like that besides going out doing some other. We're planning on Earth Day trying to do a river cleanup. Okay? And then we're trying to go to somewhere and also maybe help some elderly, either build houses or something, but actions. We're going to do some actions in communities so people see us, not just talk on the phone during election calling you saying, hey, vote for us. But we're trying to go out there and reach so people can see that we're doing something that they care about and that's important for them.
Right.
I think that is what we need to do.
I helped register voters in 2007, in 2008, 2011, 2012-ish, I did the same thing. But with the new legislation of how to register voters, you got to turn it in by this day and all this other kind of stuff like that. Do you think that the effect of closing the early voting down a little even more, those kind of things have played an effect? That's my first question. My second question is, especially something about stickers. We like to have I voted sticker. You don't get an I voted sticker when you mail in your ballot. It's something about standing in that line for some people that don't trust the mail-in vote thing for African Americans. I know I've never done it. I'll go vote early, but I'm not going to mail it in because just my luck, my vote, somebody might be like, oh, that's Democrat. Tear it up and throw it in the trash, and they would never tell me that your vote got counted or didn't get counted.
I think that's the problem.
So that's how do you go about
that has to be addressed.
getting that for us, African Americans, that are tedious about the mail-in ballot?
Very true. Well, anything new takes time to realize. You remember when, credit card checks and everything else. People, oh no, after a while you get used to it. Now, if you go to the website, it'll show you that your vote was counted.
It does.
If you go to
I didn't know that. I like to see my confirmation. I like to put it in and see it came out because something was wrong. All right, turn it over, put it in. All right, it counted. Here you go, the sticker.
But if you go on the website, it will tell you that your vote had counted. And so that now
they received your ballot. They tell you that they received your ballot. Yes.
Here's a couple of things you need to realize. First of all, we have to try to make voting as easy as possible for more people to get involved.
Right.
I think the more people vote, the more again, like I said, the elected officials need to reflect the people they represent.
Absolutely. Now, what do you do about the fact that Lee County has been Republican represented for the past 20 years? That's the obstacle that you're facing. We've had, local elections. Now, the municipal elections are coming up. Has the Democratic Party actually decided on supporting candidates? Because that's criticism we hear a lot from the Democratic Party, that they don't actually support or get behind candidates. How do you expect to change what's been a 20-year pattern? How do you plan to break the mold? Because that's what's missing. Actually, representatives that actually represent your values.
Well, if there are Democrats running against each other, we can't choose which Democrat.
Support them both.
We support both in general, so we cannot support one over the other. Because as a Democrat, if two of you are running, we support all of you.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, if you're by yourself, you're the one running. We'll do all the help we can get with the resources we have. Again, a lot of things is a matter of resources. As you know, if you have $1 and this is how much you can split it.
Well, how are the resources with the Democratic Party?
Well, we're, like everything else, we're always struggling, trying to make money, and then trying to get money to go. It's just a natural thing. That's the hardest job we have, which is the other side does not have. But again, just to counter that, this last election, we actually did better than people thought we did. We were recognized for the Florida Democratic Party, how at least we held our ground this last election. So we got some recognition that that's happening. Now, the other advantage we have in the future is demographics. With the growth of Hispanic people and people of color, our Democratic tribe is growing, and we'll have comparative advantage even here, because with the new recent people that came in and everything else, I think it's not just clear, it's slowly changing. Of course, it's going to take time. This is not something that's going to happen yet, but we can see the tide slowly changing.
I'm all for the tide changing, but I have to say, I was when Trey Radel did his thing and he resigned and everything else. April Freeman is going against Kurt Clausen for the interim position. I had to. The first time I saw her was doing her concession speech. I didn't know what the woman looked like. Now, I'm in 17, so Matt Caldwell was mine. So I couldn't vote in that one because I live in Lehigh. And I don't know how that's gerrymandered. I don't know how in the world. Half of Lehigh votes for this, half of the other Lehigh votes for this. I don't know how they split that. But I assumed she was saving her money for the November election. But I rode down from Lehigh all the way down MLK to my church, Mount Olive AME Church. And I saw one blue April Freeman sign. One. And that was on the corner of my church, right there on Orange and Palm. That was it. So I said, well, this is pathetic. And I thought, I gave her a pass for the general one because Clausen had more money and everything like that. But I thought the Democrats were going to come raging out the gate for the November election, and it didn't happen.
Could that be because of that stigma that's associated
Well-
with Democratic voters, that especially black people, that black people don't vote. And I know you've all heard it, but what do we do to change that, even if it's just a myth? You know, that is the understanding. So it seems to go without saying that they're not going to spend their resources in an area where they don't think people are going to.
Well,
I'm not talking about research. I didn't see one sign.
But that's what I'm saying. Why would you put your signs there
I look
if
at it
you
in
don't
a different
think
way.
you're going to get support?
I would think that there could be a different way to look at it. Okay, in that sense, you know, we're looking at the Democratic area. When you have limited resources, maybe what you do is you spend money on the independents and everything else because this is your house. If you have limited resources, this is where you don't want to spend your money because you're counting on this vote. You're going after chasing after different vote. So maybe that is why I was not part of the strategy group. But if I had limited resources and looking at where I want to spend my money, I wouldn't spend money on the Democrat because I'm expecting they're going to go out and vote for me.
But that's the problem right there. If you do not, I'm not saying you should have spent $50,000 advertising in Dunbar community, something like that, but not one sign. I mean, you can have a sign and have it there, somebody wave at the intersection of Shoemaker and whatever. I mean, but there was no effort.
That's where the party comes in.
We are working on that.
That was embarrassing. It's almost taking that vote for granted. And guess what? When you take it for granted, it's not there. And it wasn't there.
That's what I'm telling you. That is what this last elections we took from there. Is we have to go out and it's like campaign just on the Democratic side. So that, hey, you know, we're here, we listen, we hear you. The other thing we didn't do is we didn't support the president as much as we should. I'm talking nationally. That we need to do those kind of things locally and nationally and say, hey, as Democrats, we need to go out and say, you know, come into your Dunbar community and other communities and not take them for granted and say, this is what we're doing. That's what I'm taking from this. So my 2 years, that's what I'm doing. And I'm not waiting, like I said, till election time to call and tell you to come vote. I'm coming campaigning now, saying, please come and vote. Come and get involved. Come, let's work together and make the world a better place. That's what a Democrat is for, and that's what we're working on now. Again, to your point, that not taking for granted, going out doing outreach now.
I guess the other part about it that bothered me was that it was just 2 years ago. You had an office phone calling people and everything with Obama for America, Obama for Florida, whatever. Didn't people disintegrate? Did they? They didn't. I was one of them. But there was no effort to say, where are these people? What do we need to do to keep them involved, keep them engaged? Because we need them we need them more than ever. We don't have this charismatic leader that stands for equality and a champion person. We have to deal with April. That's not as charismatic, in my opinion. How do we support the lesser known people to get them just excited and pushing that vote and doing all those kind of things like that for those when we know what happens every 8 years, the second term of a president, every 6 years. We know what happens, but we don't.
I can tell you.
kind of laid down.
I can tell you. April is working day and night, trying to get to win this, trying to get support, trying to do outreach. This is something she's doing. You got to remember, it's a big county.
It is.
With a lot of resources, and she's up against the Goliath. But she is working day and night.
This is to me, excuse me, Arvella. I didn't even know she was running again until you kind of said she's working.
She is running again.
So she's going to be running again in 2016
yes,
for the same thing against Clausen again?
Yes. And she's working right now. And again, we learned from mistakes we did, and we're trying to get better. And she's trying to get better, and she's doing, like I said, she's working hard, trying to get there.
Now, Joseph, you said that you were the state committee man.
Yes.
Yes. And how long were you in that position?
About a year and a half.
about a year and a half.
Yes.
Now, that's part of the history of Lee County, too, that there is limited support at the state level in terms of the Democratic Party getting them to pay attention to their local candidates. So what do you see, and do you see that changing, and what's bringing about that change?
Well, it is changing because what happens again is when you have so many resources, where are you going to spend your money? You're going to spend, where you get the most buck. So apparently for a long time, Lee County was not there.
It's written off.
But I tell you what, though, this last election, we did better than anybody else thought.
Okay.
And so we're getting some recognition. And so we'll see more and more support for candidates in other areas in this area.
Okay.
Because again, sometimes you have to show before you get some help. So it's just like if you had this $1 and you want to spend it, where are you going to spend it? Where do you think is going to get you the most buck?
Absolutely.
But now that we're doing a much better job, I think you'll start seeing more support from the Florida Democratic Party to Lee County and Collier.
Right.
I think those are the counties that did better than they thought. And so I think it's a reflection of, again, our efforts
Doing behind the scenes.
and also demographics. And, I think we have a brighter future. It's not going to change right away. It's going to take time. But I think we are making progress.
Yes, I think Lee County is kind of unique, in the state, whereas, it's been dominated by one party for 20 years. But, when you ask about, President Obama, coming in and how people organized and, I think he had, almost 8,000 volunteers. But I also know that his campaign was separate from the local Democratic Party. He brought in his own people to lead, and he hired people from around the area. So you didn't have that collaboration with, the federal campaign and the local, party. So what's being done to kind of bridge that gap, because you're going to have a new Democratic candidate soon from, running for presidency. Yes. How are you going to bridge that gap and make sure that they pay attention to Lee County during this election cycle?
Well, I think they'll take some guidance from the Florida Democratic Party to see where they need to spend resources. But I think they'll also look at, again, the demographics. Remember this last election, 7 counties out of 67 counties, 7 counties are what carried Barack Obama. And they all are, the I-4 corridor and Miami, and those. That's enough population there to carry the presidential, the state. So those are very important. We cannot forget about them. Now, as we're making more money, and the presidential election usually has a lot of money, so they tend to look at open up offices everywhere. I think the president had a unique strategy, a 50-state strategy, that a lot of people are going to adapt now. Okay. And look at it from that perspective, because that used to be not the case.
Right.
You used to run just Super Tuesday, and once that was over, you were done. Well, that's changed. Now we're going through a 50-state strategy. So then every county becomes important for the simple fact that maybe you don't win here, but you can lessen some of the losses. So those are the kind of big strategy we were looking at, and I think Lee County is going to play an important role in coming up in the election. We're looking forward to the candidate. We're excited to try to get another Democrat elected. I think that's what we're gearing for. But again, we're also not forgetting the local candidates matter. And we're going out outreach, talking to our constituents, Democrats, saying, hey, Lee County Democratic Party exists.
And you matter. I mean, I think we got to see you moving around Lee County and putting that face out there, because you are totally new image for the Democratic Party.
We are going to do
and
that.
I think it's exciting. It's exciting.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Tedros, thank you so much for being our guest. And
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That's going to wrap up our session for
Thank you.
today. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next week on CTV Politico. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night.